Hello everybody, welcome to this World Cup chat, episode 2 I guess. We're going to be looking back over the last couple of days. I'm doing this more in a soft spoken style, as you can probably tell, mostly because I'm talking about England. I don't know if I could control myself in a whisper, shall we say. But I just finished watching England play. We won 2-1. I'm going to talk about all the games, but I think I'll start with England because I'll have the most to say about it. I'm sure that's why a lot of people are probably watching this. England won 2-1 against Tunisia. That was an interesting match, shall we say. Very interesting. We didn't really know what to expect from England coming into this World Cup because, we had the change of manager, kind of midway-ish through our qualifying campaign to Southgate. He's tried to bring in a new style of football, new formation. I don't want to say got rid of, but shall we say moved on some older players, the likes of Rooney, etc., and focused on the kind of youth coming through. And I think a lot of people, rightly so, kind of thinking, well, this World Cup is more of a kind of experience for people, shall we say, rather than us kind of going in seriously to it. But I have to say, I don't know if I am biased, as an England fan, but I was really impressed with them. I thought they did really well. First half, I thought we looked excellent. The build up to the goal, we were chasing everything. We were really putting pressure on Tunisia, who I think a lot of people who perhaps aren't into football that as much or focus perhaps more on their specific league or their country. It's difficult when it comes to World Cups because we often don't know too much about other countries, but they're not a bad side in any way, shape or form. There was a lot of good players there. In the FIFA rankings they are 21st. That's 2 above Italy, around Croatia, Iceland, Costa Rica, Sweden. They're decent. They're not, Saudi Arabia. They're not Panama. They are a really solid, decent side. The majority of their players play in, top leagues. So we knew this was going to be a really tough game. And England typically do not do well in the opening game of a World Cup. And a lot of people were saying the experience isn't there in the team, and what happens if we go a goal down, or what happens if X, Y, or Z. But I thought it was a really, really positive performance. A lot of the talk will be about Harry Kane. Harry Kane. A lot of people argue about whether or not he's the only world-class player in the England squad. I think most people agree he is a world-class player. He is the difference in this game, without a doubt. The first half, as I said, we were brilliant. Lingard missed so many chances. I don't know how many he wanted, but I think that was kind of a little bit down to nerves, to be fair. England looked a little bit nervous. There were a few misplaced passes. They are transforming into a side which wants to play it out from the back. And they have players there who have never ever played on this level before. The likes of Maguire. I don't know if Walker and Stones actually played in the last World Cup. I believe they were there at the Euros, but Maguire wasn't. Trippier, he wasn't there. He's relatively new. He's only got 18 caps as well. There's a lot of new players kind of coming in there. Dele Alli wasn't at the last World Cup. He was playing for MK Dons back at the last World Cup. I know we've had a Euro since then, but the point is that if you compare our experience to a side like Brazil or Germany or those type of sides, they're brimming with, players who have played at the, elite level, and England don't have that. Now, admittedly, Tunisia don't have that either, but the difference there is that they are the underdogs. People weren't expecting them to win this game. It would have been seen as a good result for them to draw this game, which they very, very nearly did. As I said, in the first half, England were wasteful, without a doubt. We obviously scored after 11 minutes. Harry Kane from a very good set piece, very well worked. Kane was there. It was a weird one because the keeper had kind of injured himself just beforehand, and it was clearly like his shoulder, and he was obviously in some discomfort, and he pulled off an incredible save from John Stones, just leaping like a salmon in the air and heading that ball towards goal, and it was a brilliant save, like a really good save. And then he was obviously injured. Harry Kane, he could only palm it out to Harry Kane or kind of like clawed it out from the goal. Harry Kane was there to just put it in, which is what Harry Kane does. He's just there. And that was a fantastic start after 11 minutes. That's all you can ask for. The keeper then went off injured, unfortunately. You never want to see that, even if you're like, oh, great, we stand a chance. I don't think their goalkeeper did badly, the one who came on, at all. But you never want to see anybody go off in a World Cup injured at all. It's a horrible thing, especially in the first match. I saw something earlier in the South Korea game as well, where unfortunately that happened to one of their players, and it's really, really sad. But great start. And then typically, whenever I've watched England, a lot of the time what happens is we'll go 1-0 up, we'll look really good, we'll go 1-0 up, and then we'll sit back and things will start to go wrong. The more pressure will come on us, our defence will look really nervous, we'll start to just try and pump the ball up, and I think that's what Southgate's trying to avoid. Is we're quite good at going 1-0 up, we're quite good at having that energy and scoring, but what we seem to be bad at is that game management of then controlling it. We know the opposition is going to want to come forward and try and get a goal back, and we've got to try and control that, but without just letting them have the ball. And you saw that straight from the kickoff. England were pressing, and it was really good to see. I was so impressed, pun intended, with that, and I was like, wow, it's like watching a different team to that team so many years I've watched, where they, with better players, in the past, like without doubt, like man for man, England had a golden generation, and in a way we kind of squandered it for whatever reasons, but it just looked really good. And I don't know if sometimes it's because the players aren't quite as good, so they play more as a team. If that's maybe it, maybe there's less egos, maybe there's less about that, and it's more about a team effort, but it just looked fantastic. And I mean, to be fair, Tunisia did come back into it a little bit. They obviously scored, they had a penalty. Now, I mean, obviously this is where the English bias come in. That for me is never a penalty in a million years. The strikers completely played for it, and you see those. I don't even know if I can say you see those given, because I've never seen that given. But maybe that's just the Premier League. Like, I majority of the time watch the Premier League. I've watched all the other World Cup matches, and I've never really seen that given. But okay, fine, you're going to give that. If a player puts his arm out like Walker did, he put his arm, he's trying to shield the ball, he's put his arm out and it's gone backwards a bit, and it's touched the player behind him. The player's gone down like there's a sniper in the crowd, and the ref gives a penalty. Okay, fine. They score the penalty. Sassy, who I think looked really good for them, he was definitely their best player, and it was a surprise when they took him off later on, to be honest. But it was a decent penalty. Pickford got fingertips to it but couldn't stop it. But it's like, okay, fine. This was their one. That was their chance. They got lucky with that penalty. They didn't really make anything before that, really. They had a little bit of a chance when England got a bit nervy at the back, and there was a misplaced pass, and then Walker should have just booted it out, but he didn't, and he was a little bit nervy, but it was just kind of like, you see that sometimes, and nothing really came from it. It's one of those ones where people are like, oh, what if that was against a better team, we would have been punished, and it's like, well, perhaps the different mentality. Walker would have put it into row Z if he would have been playing Belgium or whoever, perhaps. But England, I thought they came back into it, from that 1-1. They didn't change their style. You could see there's a definite style, a definite, they didn't just go, okay, let's just pump it up to Kane and look to get the knockdowns. Sure, on occasion we did do that, but that's no problem. You saw Spain do that with Diego Costa. It's not an issue. It's an issue if you're doing that constantly, trying to do that and giving away possession, but it's not an issue to occasionally do that or play a direct pass now and then. We're not trying to play ticky-tacky football, like the Barcelona of old or the Spain of old. We're trying to do what's best with the players we've got, and it was very positive, I thought. And again, Tunisia, they're not a bad side. This is the important thing to remember here, is, they're not a bad side. They're the highest ranked side in Africa, as we've seen, by a long way, by like 20 places. And yeah, they're decent. They're good. The one thing which disappointed me with the first half was, well, Lingard not being able to finish. I thought that was poor. And then there seemed to be a kind of injury to... you patiently waiting past 6. Okay. Seems to be an injury to Dele Alli, or something happened. I think it was Martin Keown said it might have been like a dead leg or something like that. And he looked bright, and then after that he seemed to fade a lot, and I was massively surprised that he came out in the second half, and the fact that he didn't go off till quite late in the second half really surprised me, because I think when they changed and they brought on Loftus-Cheek for him, the game changed. He looked a lot brighter. I don't think Dele Alli's a bad player in any way, but I think that change should have been made a lot earlier. I think that is some criticism I have of Gareth Southgate, who I think did very well and has been a breath of fresh air as an England manager. But I think he is very slow to change things when they happen. Whether or not that's because he has a lot of faith in the players, he puts out there, and he doesn't want to do that. But in my opinion, it clearly looked as if something happened to Ali, whether or not it was psychological or actually physical. I don't know. The argument is perhaps if it was psychological, if he thought, maybe I can understand if something, goes, if you think something goes, or, you're worried that you've hurt something, like psychologically, it's the first game of the World Cup. You don't want to be that guy going off, do you? You want to fight for your place, because you don't know, a guy might come on and score a goal or something, and then you're wondering if you're going to play in the second leg, or you're worried that you're going to go off and not be able to play again in the tournament. So I understand not wanting to go off, but I think that's where the manager has to come in and make a decision to say, like at half time, you know what, there's something going on there. The argument could be that if you keep him on, he can run through that, and he can come out the other side, but that didn't happen, and I think it was a bit late to change it. Second half, we were much slower, without a doubt. It's very hot in Russia at the minute, and I know it's very hard to keep that intensive pressure up, that pressing, especially Tunisia sat much deeper. Like, there was no counter-attacking in the second half from England, because you couldn't. They were camped out in their 18-yard line. They were like, it's 1-1, we're going to take this. And they defended brilliantly, I have to say. I was very impressed. People were saying beforehand that they were very well organised, that they, would be very, very solid at the back, and they were very solid. They clearly come from the Sergio Ramos school of defending, because there was 2 blatant penalties for England. And I mean, this is going to be the discussion, and I hate the way it always comes about with England. Like, why is there always referee decisions with England? I swear I've watched nearly every other game in here, and even the ones which people are saying is on the borderline, like the penalty for France, it's a soft penalty. I can look at it and go, yeah, you know what, I can see that being given as a penalty, okay? VAR's looked at it, I can see the ref missing it or not be able to see from his position. That referee was a joke in this match, like the worst referee from the World Cup. Tunisia, I mean, if they don't make it to footballers, they need to go into the WWE, because there were 2 occasions where they just wrestled Harry Kane to the ground. I'm not talking like, typical, footballers going down when they get touched. No, we're talking full-on rugby tackles here, in full view of the referee, and VAR doing nothing. It's totally unacceptable. I don't know how on earth he could give the Walker one, which was literally Walker putting his arm out and the player purposely running into it to get a penalty, and then the players just wrestle Kane to the ground. And sometimes people be like, well, Kane has hold of him as well. No. There's no person on earth, even the Tunisian fan, must look at that and go, that is a blatant penalty both of those times. Like, it's unbelievable what happened. The first one, there's a ball coming into the box, Kane's going for it, the player is not even looking at the ball, he's literally dragging Kane to the ground to stop him from doing anything. Clear penalty as you will ever see. My understanding is that if the referee misses it, and hey, let's not let the referee get off the hook, there's no way he should miss that. You can see in the replay he's looking at it. It's mind-blowing to me. But anyway, say he misses it, VAR then has to pick that up. That is a clear and blatant penalty. That's the way it goes. For whatever reason, it didn't. I don't know. Maybe the guy who's doing it went out for a cup of tea at that point, or needed a wee. I don't know. Okay. The second time, same thing happened. Ball into the box, blatantly in front of the referee. Referee does nothing. I'd like to point out here, not one Tunisia player there has a yellow card. I mean, what is going on? Listen, if England hadn't have won that game, I would be ranting right now. I mean, I probably am a little bit, but I'm talking rant because I understand sometimes when a decision might not go your way. Okay, I don't want to be that person who just always bemoan. I don't want to be Mark Hughes, always bemoaning the referee every single time. Oh, the referee. Sometimes when it's like, it shouldn't have been a free kick, or shouldn't have done this, shouldn't have done that. And there's always like 15 other steps for it to be a goal, and it's just easy to blame a referee. But that it was shocking. Like, don't get me wrong, Tunisia, there's a line. Okay, Tunisia wrestled that line to the ground. Rio Ferdinand said at half-time on the BBC, I'm surprised he didn't hold Harry Kane there for 3 seconds. It was a joke. And it's something which has always been worrying about World Cups is their insistence upon bringing referees from all over the world who are just not up to the same level and standard that is expected at a World Cup. Like a World Cup, you cannot have matches decided by a referee decision. That is the sole reason why they brought VAR in, for it to happen and it to be for a referee to not only miss 2 clear-cut ones and then give a penalty, which in my opinion wasn't a penalty, but fine, he gave it, is diabolical. I'm not into conspiracy theories or anything like that. It's just we see it too many times for it to be a conspiracy, like across the board, not just with England or anyone, but it was diabolical. It really was. Shocking. England, as I said, slowed down. When Sterling came off and Rashford came on, we looked good. Rashford looks really bright. Like, I think we've got to play him. I'd play him instead of Lingard. I know that's odd because Lingard's a midfielder, but I think against Panama you can afford to do that. I totally understand that our tactic's going to be different against Belgium, but against Panama I'd play Rashford because he's got that little bit of guile and that technique, and he can finish way better than Lingard can. And he's got confidence, and he's young, and he wants to, take on a player. We saw that, and this is going to be a very similar game to one against Panama. We saw that in the Belgium game. They're going to sit deep. They're not as good as Tunisia, like defensively. They're nowhere near as solid or as organised. But I'll get to the Belgian game after this, because that was very interesting as well, I think. But yeah, I think Rashford did really well. Loftus-Cheek, I'm always going to be biased for him because I think he's a fantastic player. I've seen him enough at Crystal Palace this season to know that, like, if he doesn't, get into that Chelsea side, then that will be their second biggest mistake third after letting Lukaku and De Bruyne go. And I guess there's a few others perhaps, but like, I think it would be a genuinely big mistake because I think he offers so much, and I genuinely really hope he goes to Crystal Palace if he does leave. But wherever he goes, I just hope he gets game time, because I think he can be a really good midfielder for England. He looked really bright. He's quick and he's incredibly strong. He's very well built. You can see that. And, in a midfield which perhaps has Dele Alli, Henderson, Lingard, there's perhaps not quite the strength there sometimes that you would, perhaps want, and he does offer that, I think. But he's also very quick and he's good on the ball as well, we saw. And he wasn't afraid to take it past a player, which was great to see. And I was sitting there at 80 minutes thinking, well, okay, it's 1-1. This is not the worst result in the world, because I think we played well. And I think Southgate said that at the end. He was saying even if it had finished 1-1, I would have been happy with the way we played, and I agree. I would have been here moaning about those penalties, of course, and I'd be moaning about the chances Lingard missed, but I would have been like, well, you know what? Sometimes England have played and draw 1-1 and we've only made one chance, or sometimes we've just lost or drawn 0-0, and it's been depressing. But I would have been upbeat because I would have been like, yeah, you know what, we actually looked all right. But Harry Kane, I mean, what can you say about this guy? He does nothing all game and he scores 2 goals. I mean, he is world class in that respect. He had 2 chances, he scored 2 goals. That's literally it. Another set piece from England. We looked dangerous from them all night. We looked really good from set pieces, which is fantastic, because I've often said in the past that England need to play to their strengths, and one of our strengths is always going to be set pieces. Compared to a lot of other countries, the English league has a big focus on set pieces, and it's you look at some teams in the Premier League and they literally rely on set pieces. Burnley are a great example of that. West Brom when they were good, Stoke City back in the past. I see a Tony Pulis connection there maybe, but Palace are good at set pieces, and England can be too. And like, if we're dangerous in there, that's great. That's fantastic. And we did look really dangerous from them, and obviously Kane's there to just kind of steal in and put it away. Now, Harry Kane reminds me so much of Cristiano Ronaldo. It's unreal. Not a point of view necessarily of their playing style, but of that kind of mentality to be able to do nothing the whole game. So many times I've seen Ronaldo where, like, people will be like, what is Ronaldo doing? Ronaldo hasn't had a sniff, he hasn't had a pass, mostly for Portugal. It is different with Real. And then he'll just pop up and score. And you're like, yeah, that's Ronaldo. That's what he does. And that's starting to be a thing with Harry Kane. Of course, there's a playing style that's completely different. Ronaldo's, much more skillful, much more technically complete. But it's that confidence and that ability to, when you get a chance, to finish it. And it's a sign of just the greatest strikers out there, not, they need 2 or 3 to get their sights on, but like, no, when they get that chance, boom, it's in the net. And it's what terrifies defences, because Tunisia, they left him twice, and they didn't wrestle him down that time, and he scored. They physically had to try and stop him. Like, they physically had to drag him to the ground to stop him. That is the sign of a great striker. Reminds me of players of the past. A little bit of like Alan Shearer, but again, he was a bit of a different player. But that ability to just kind of finish, someone like Batistuta maybe, just a goal machine, just there who will score goals. And Ronaldo, I think, has turned a little bit into that in later years. His earlier years was more about the wing play, more about the running, more about the directness, running towards a defender. I think Harry Kane's a little bit better with his back to the defender, like he's a bit more used to that, and he's nowhere near as good, obviously, running at a player. By the way, I'm not saying he's as good as Ronaldo. Don't light up the comment section there. What I'm saying is that in that ability to have that confidence and that ability to score a goal, even though you may have done nothing all game, but when that chance comes, you put it away. Whether it's in the first 20 minutes or 40 minutes, you do that, and when that comes, you're there, and that's why he's captain, because he can do that. And it was great to see. It was really great to see. I like the fact that Southgate brought on Eric Dyer straight afterwards. Brought off Lingard, brought on Dyer. Right, 2-1, sharp shot. Don't take any chances. 89th minute. It's good. I was happy with that. It might seem like a really silly thing, but so many times in the past, England can just blow things like that, because I don't know why, but it's good. I was very happy with that. And then obviously that was the end of the match. 2-1 to England. Puts us in a great position. We play Panama next. I watched the Belgium game. Panama, they tried, but there was just individual brilliance in that Belgian side which won them the game, which there was nothing Panama could do. It's worrying. If we talk about Belgium, and I would say, by the way, my man of the match for England is Kieran Trippier, who I thought was fantastic. I thought he bombed up that right-hand side constantly. He looked very good on the ball. He put in some really good crosses, and he just looked like he wanted to play the game quickly. And yeah, I was really impressed with him, actually. I think, Kimmich of Germany, when I watched their game, everyone's saying, this guy's the best right back in the world. He's the best. I'll tell you, I'd take Trippier over him, judging from that performance compared to this one. Different sides, I know, but I just thought Trippier just looked really good. And, Spurs lost Kyle Walker, who, again, is a really good right back, to be fair, and obviously having to play central defence. But how many Spurs fans are actually worried about that when you've got Kieran Trippier in there? Like, it might be seen as defeatist to lose Walker to Man City, but if you're going to get like 40 million and you've got Kieran Trippier as backup, that's great. I'll take that all day long. I think overall, like performance-wise, I think Pickford did everything he needed to do. He nearly got the penalty. I don't think he played badly at all. There were some moments. I really don't think he put too many bad passes. There was a few times where a bad pass to him might have been a little bit ski-whiff, and I think he did that well. He looked very assured on the ball. That's why he's been picked ahead of Butland, because on the ball he's more calm and collected, and he showed that. It was a good performance, but ultimately he didn't really have a lot to do, especially in the second half. Tunisia were not pushing forward with any number. By the way, the where is he? Number Khazri. This guy is a spitting image for Roberto Carlos, the old Brazilian left back. Obviously nowhere near as good a player, but the real spitting image. He was actually pretty decent as well. I think he's still a Sunderland player technically, but I think he's been on loan in France. But yeah, he did okay. He was a nuisance up front. And oh no, I think I can't remember which one it was. Either Naeem City or Sassy. I think it was this guy. He looked pretty good. To be fair, this FIFA website is pretty good, by the way. I do recommend you checking it I've said before, I'm not a big fan of a lot of things FIFA do, but they got their website done well. Yeah, I think Stones did what Stones does, which is he looks comfortable on the ball. He doesn't mind having to bring it out a little bit. I think he looked good. The England defence didn't have a huge amount to do. There was a couple of rocky moments in the first half where I think they felt a little bit under pressure, and maybe the opening of the second half, England were a little bit deep, but by the time we grew into the second half, we dominated that totally. So yeah, I think they all did well. Maguire, I think, probably was the best of them, especially in bringing the ball forward. I'd perhaps like to see him get a bit more confidence from that. And there was a couple of times where you were like, keep going. He'd kind of get up to a point around here, and then he'd just be looking to kind of make a safe pass or something like that. And it was like the defenders were just backing off him because he's the centre back. But I'd like to see him maybe push on a little bit and then see what opens up from there. I understand there's a worry of a counter attack and stuff like that, but especially against someone like Panama, I don't think that's going to be as much of an issue as it will be against someone like Belgium or later on in the stages. Henderson, he looked decent. He wasn't quite as dynamic as I think he needed to be, as in like a lot of his balls were sideways instead of a little bit more forward. He's a very good passer of the ball, Henderson, and he's got a bit of a reputation as being the kind of like sitting or the defensive midfielder, and I think he's more capable than that. Much more capable than that. Ali, I think, had a bad game. He, as I say, he looked good up until that quote-unquote injury. I mean, I don't know how that affected him. If there was no injury, if it didn't affect him, then he just had a bad game. As I said, I think that Loftus-Cheek looked much better when he came on. I'm not saying he's a better player, I just think he looked better. Trippier, as I say, definitely my man of the match. I think he was superb. Lingard just missed way too many chances. It's reassuring that he's in there, but I mean, and when I say missed, I mean he like completely miskicked like two of them. And when you're at this level, like you shouldn't be doing that. There are players in our team which wouldn't do that, who play in that position, and I think that's the thing to think about is, would some of those other players, if they'd got that chance, would they have miskicked them? I don't think so. Young, I thought, did decently. I would have gone with Rose ahead of Young, but then I saw that I think it's this guy Ben Youssef, is it? This guy's like 6'4" and he plays on the right wing. So I understand why they went with Young, because Rose is short. He is short. He's a full like 10 centimetres shorter, which you could tell Morocco's game plan. I saw when they had the kicks, they were kicking it out to him on the wing. He was playing like a wide target man role, and if we'd have had Danny Rose there, he would have got annihilated. So totally understand why they played Young. If that wasn't the case, I would like to see Rose, because I think he's a little bit better than Young going forward. But he had a decent game, Young. I don't think he did anything wrong at all. Sterling, I don't think Sterling played badly. He looks to lack a little bit of confidence, which is weird because he looks so confident for City, and I think he's been asked to do a pretty similar role, and I'm kind of like, well, I don't know, is it just that England shirt? But Rashford kind of came on and just looked free and able to play, and maybe the next game he plays Rashford instead of Sterling. I don't think he will. I think he'll still stick with Sterling, but I think Sterling's got to do something in the next game. He's got to be better. And Kane, I mean, what can you say about Kane? He's who got the man of the match? Yeah, Harry Kane. Obviously, he got 2 goals, right? I mean, what else did he do? I don't know. Like, I wish there was something which told me how many touches he got. By the way, 25 international caps, 15 goals. That is a phenomenal record. Okay. Also, that's a terrible picture. Um, I think Harry Kane speaks really well in interviews. He always looks so gormless when you just take a picture of him, though, doesn't he? But no, he did exactly what he's in the squad to do, 1,000,000%. This was his first tournament goals, as Gareth Southgate said in his interview at the end. He's just pleased that he scored, because otherwise all people would be saying about Harry Kane not scoring in tournaments, which is kind of utter rubbish, really. I think, if the guy can score, in the Champions League, like, it is different, I know, but my point is, like, he's played, he's one of those England players who regularly plays at a very, very high level with a team which has a lot of expectations, and performs week in, week out. So, like, I don't have any worries about him and his confidence going into big games. Like, I think he's there knowing he's one of the best in the world at what he does. So yeah, I think overall it was a good performance. As I say, the Panama game's next. There's question marks for me around Dele Alli and Lingard for that game. I'd perhaps give them both another chance, but it's tough to say. I think undoubtedly we'll change the way this is set up for the Belgian game. They'll put in Dyer and Henderson and then move someone just ahead, because that would be a very, very different game. And speaking of which, let's kind of talk about the Belgian game. So let's go to the matches. See what I mean about looking gormless? He just looks gormless every time. Right, so Belgium won 3-0 against Panama. Simple, right? Easy. Look at this side. Look at this side. For Tongan, I think Boyata's. I think they've got. I guess Company was probably injured, right? But Alderweireld, De Bruyne, Witsel, Carrasco, Meunier, Mertens, Lukaku, Hazard. Ooh, this guy, he's quality. Other than that, there's not a lot else going on in there. They worked really hard, don't get me wrong. They worked really hard, but there is a clear gulf between these two. Belgium are ranked 3rd in the world. Panama are ranked not in the top 50. Not in the... No, it's Paraguay, Phil. Not in the top 50. Okay. Where are they? Come on. But do they just not exist in the world rankings or something? I must have missed them. If we click on Panama, does it tell us? No. Panama. They've got a distinctive flag. I shouldn't really be missing it, but I am. I keep seeing Paraguay and it's freaking me out. There we go, 55th. So this, like, the one thing I will say is Panama played well. There's clearly a massive gap in quality. Like, that bench would have beaten Panama easily, okay? Belgium did not play well, okay? First half, it was 0-0 by half time. Now, that's not that unusual in this World Cup. Like, we've seen a lot of games go 0-0 in there. But, they did not look good. And Mertens came out and scored an absolute blinder. And it changed the game there, because I think from there, Panama knew they weren't going to score. And I think maybe they had like a chance or something. But they knew they weren't going to score. And like, it was settled by two things, really. Mertens with that shot, which, he just lobbed the keeper. It was fantastic technique, and that's just, individual quality. The ball comes to him and he just lofts it into the top left corner. The keeper can do nothing. And then De Bruyne with just a sublime outside of the foot pass or / cross to Lukaku to head in, and then Lukaku with a good finish for the third. And this is what worries me, is the fact that I think Belgium looked a far worse team than England, like, in terms of the way they play, but that individual quality just outshines England. Like, even though I think Belgium played way worse than England played against Tunisia, like, I think Belgium will beat Tunisia simply because of the quality they've got, and I think they'll beat England. Because there's just so much talent there. I think Roberto Martinez is not getting the best out of this team. I've said that before, but in the same way Belgium beat Panama because they have better players. I think Belgium, like a draw would be a good result for England. We all know that. Okay, if Belgium beat England, I think it will be settled by a moment of individual brilliance from a De Bruyne or Mertens or Hazard. It's just ridiculous. it's unfair. I don't think Belgium will win the World Cup. I might stand here corrected. Because this is the thing as well. Like, people don't forget, this is the first game of the tournament, and we have seen teams slip up. I think Belgium had the easiest first game out of any of the teams in the World Cup, barring Russia probably. But from the big teams who played, like Iceland are a tough side. We know that. Mexico are a tough side. Switzerland are a lot better than people think. They're ranked 6th in the world. They're a very good side, and they had out of the kind of what I would say the top teams in the tournament so far. They have had the easiest game, and France. You could argue. I mean, Australia, I'm pretty sure are ranked higher than Panama. Yeah, 36th, and I think on the whole they're a much better team, but. I think this is going to be the thing with Belgium, is like how far can that individual brilliance take them? I don't really know. I don't really know. Maybe they'll win it. There's just so much quality there. It's like you see that up against any team, and you're like, how do they not score? and it's not like Argentina where it's like everything's top heavy. Like, they have a seriously good defence. Obviously, I don't think Boyata's like number one defender here. They would prefer, I think, Company in there, but maybe he won't be injured, and maybe that would be their weakness in the end. I think their weakness is going to be Roberto Martinez and the way he plays. But we'll see. They were good anyway. Statistically, how much of the ball did they have? 61%, which is about what you would expect, I guess. 15 attempts, 6 on target, 7 off. That doesn't add up to 15. Okay, well, anyway. No, it doesn't. That's weird. Go home, FIFA, you're drunk. Yeah, good. I get, all they can do is win, I guess, and all they can do is win 3-0. But I think that while that is probably the most comprehensive win, well, it's really, it is the most comprehensive win, barring Russia. I don't think too much could be kind of, looked at into that, really. We'll see how England do against Panama. I could be eating my words. It could be 0-0 in Panama. I'll pull off a great display. Like, I'm not writing off Panama in any way, and I'm not saying that they're a terrible football side or anything like that. They're not. They are just limited in what they can do. Like, there's, no one's being rude, I don't think, if they say this team is better than this team in the World Cup, because, it's like in the Premier League. If I turn around and say, what, Man City are better than Crystal Palace, like that's just a fact. Like, they are a better team. Their players are better. It doesn't mean that Crystal Palace can't beat them. I mean, Crystal Palace drew with them. They nearly beat them if they scored a bloody penalty. But what it does mean is that, like, they have better players, and their players play in a better league. They are looked after better by their clubs with state-of-the-art facilities and training and GPS trackers, and everything they eat is looked after, and they earn hundreds of thousands more and live lifestyles and have medical doctors, supervising everything they do. And I don't think the Panama players have, a bad life. I think they are all professional footballers, do well. But my point is that, when the best players get all the best stuff as well, they will just, that, I think I spoke before about 1% gains. I think I spoke about it in a FIFA video, where if you look at the British cycling team, it's all about 1% gains, where they look at the tiniest little things. Like, for example, they take with them their, like, duvet and sheets and bedding with them when they go away so that they sleep better in hotel rooms. It seems dumb, but when you are the best and then you add in all those tiny little 1%, it just makes up so that you take away any possibility that you're not, the best. And the only possibility that Belgium don't win this World Cup, I think, is because Roberto Martinez. I know I come out and I don't sound like he's atrocious. I don't think he's an atrocious manager. I just don't think he's good enough to take this Belgium side through. I think if the Belgium side win this World Cup, it would be because of the Belgian players. We've seen that happen before, so it would not be unusual. But the players are better because they have access to better facilities and everything like that, and they are already better players. I think Panama's they're a country of, I think it was 4 million, which is about a third of the population of London. Okay, so this is not a big country that we're talking about here. And while Belgium is not either a massive country, they are bigger, and being a European country, they have certain privileges that other countries may not have. So I'm not being disrespectful if I say that, like, England are expected to beat Panama, or Belgium would be fully expected to win 3-0 against Panama. It's just the facts, it's not a it's just the facts of things. And if someone said to me, well, Belgium should thrash England, on paper, I'd be like, yeah, they should. But there you go. Sweden, Korean Republic. This is such a World Cup of penalties, it's ridiculous. There's been more penalties so far in this World Cup than there has in the last World Cup, the entirety of the last World Cup. Yes, because of VAR. I mean, there should have been 2 more in the bloody England game. I'll stop mentioning that now. But Sweden, they got their penalty, they put it away. There wasn't a lot in those sides. It was not the greatest game to watch. I'll be completely honest with you there. I switched off for most of the second half. There we go. And the day before, an upset, I guess. I mean, let's talk about Serbia, Costa Rica. Kolarov scores a free kick. Costa Rica didn't look bad at all. Serbia, I've always thought Serbia were a good side. They look solid. I didn't think Serbia were going to lose that match, but I was wondering whether it was going to be a 0-0. But, a little bit of quality from Kolarov is just the difference there. Would not surprise me if Serbia end up winning that group. I think they could beat Switzerland, and I think they could draw with Brazil. So we'll see. Brazil. What can we say about Brazil? Looked great first half. Didn't come out in the second half. Coutinho scores a fantastic goal. Brazil looked great. I was bemoaning Neymar's haircut in my FIFA video today. I thought it was awful. I'm not going to talk about it anymore, but I don't know why you would do that. But the Swiss are not a bad side. Like, they have real good quality in their lineup, and they're very solid. And they got a set piece. They scored it. My biggest problem is Shaqiri. The guy is clearly talented, but my God, he does not work hard for the team, does he? He's just not interested in defending. For me, I play him as like a number 10. Like, don't play him on the right, because your right is so, like, for me, you've got to play him in that kind of free role, because he is just, like, he can't play as a winger. He just doesn't get back. You can't play him as a right midfielder. Lichtsteiner, I think, is a very good right back though, so he does cover a little bit. I thought Barami did well, and I thought Switzerland did very well. They had Neymar pretty well covered. Yes, he was in for some rough treatment, not quite as bad as wrestling him down in the penalty area, but he was in for some rough treatment. But Coutinho scored just a Coutinho goal. Like, as soon as he got that ball there, I was like, he's going to ping that in. It was a fantastic shot. Like, don't underestimate how good a shot that was. It was fantastic. But I just thought Brazil looked really flat, and it didn't really look like they were going to create anything. And I don't know. That has been a theme of this World Cup, is teams coming in with a lot of attacking talent and just looking really flat, and other teams just stubbornly, defending and being like, well, you got all these big players. That Brazil side is the most expensive side in the world right now. You've got a £200 million player in Neymar. You've got a £100 million player Coutinho. Gabriel Jesus is probably another 100 million. Williams probably 50 million. Paulinho was like, I don't know, 40 million or something. The goalkeeper's being touted as being worth 40 million. It's ridiculous. Marcelo would probably go for that as well. Danilo was like 40 million. Look at their bench as well. There's just talent all over the place there. And they just looked really flat. I think my problem with Brazil is that they're so focused on Neymar. And like, it has to be Neymar. And it's like, you have so many good players around you. Jesus up front, Coutinho, Willian, they're all capable of turning a game on its head. And for me, just every focus seems to be on Neymar. And sometimes he comes through, but sometimes he doesn't. I think if you're going to win this World Cup, they've got to play as a team, and it's got to be less about Neymar and more about, playing. It's not Portugal, okay? Don't get me wrong, Portugal not a bad side. They have some very good players, but clearly their focus is on Ronaldo. In the same way that England want to have their chances fall to Harry Kane, not Jesse Lingard. But Brazil, you've just got talent everywhere. Everything seems to be about Neymar. I think that's like a little bit weird. Argentina's kind of the same thing with Messi. Sometimes everybody's just focused on Messi. And it's like, guys, you've got some real attacking talent there. Don't underestimate it. Not everything has to be going to Messi. I mean, Messi's a bit more of a playmaker than Neymar is, but things do tend to go through him. But I thought Brazil just looked really flat, and I think they'll get a win in their next game. Who they're playing next? It's going to be Costa Rica. I mean, Costa Rica was stubborn against Serbia, and they could frustrate Brazil, and I think they'll be up for that one. I think they really will be, and I hope they get something from it, because we could be in a World Cup where we could potentially see Spain possibly not qualifying. It seems unlikely, but because I reckon they're going to beat Morocco and Iran, potentially we could see Spain not qualify. It seems the unlikeliest of this. We could see Argentina not qualify, and that's a real possibility, by the way, because I could see Iceland beating Nigeria. I could see Croatia getting something against Argentina, and then it's kind of up to the gods on a few other games. We could see Germany not qualify, from the to the last 16. Again, I would expect them to beat Sweden and Korea, but there's real pressure on them now to do that. They didn't look good against Mexico. Mexico looked a real attacking, like a counter-attacking threat. They were really positive. Lozano took his goal brilliantly. He looked a real threat. He's going to be in the Premier League next season. Trust me. Someone's going to buy this guy. Where is he at now? PSV Eindhoven. 100% a Premier League side's going to sign him. And they looked solid at the back as well. Germany could not break them down. I can't for the life of me understand why they play Draxler over Sane. I cannot work that out. I don't know, maybe Sane slept with the coach's daughter or something like that. I don't know. But they didn't look... It was very un-German of them. This guy looked good though, Brandt, who came on. I didn't know too much about him, but he looked decent actually. And interesting. Never bet against the Germans. Like I fully expect Germany to win their next two games because they're Germany and that's what they do. But that's a shocker. That's a real shocker. But yeah, I guess, in terms of the group matches, we have one more group to play tomorrow. We've got Colombia, Japan, Poland, Senegal. Interesting matches, perhaps not going to set the world on fire there, but interesting matches. And yeah, it's good to see England with 3 points on the board there. Not top of the group, obviously, but we could be after the next game. I 100% see Tunisia getting a point out of Belgium. Like, they look solid enough, but it just depends if De Bruyne or Mertens or Lukaku just comes up with just something that they do, like they could beat Tunisia. Tunisia are not an attacking threat. Like, they got a lucky penalty, and other than that, there wasn't a lot else going on. So yeah, we'll see. I genuinely hope Tunisia beat Belgium, though. It would make England's life a lot easier. But there we go. My thoughts would be that we're going to go into the last game with 6 points, and Belgium be on 6 points, both of us qualified, and being able to play that game perhaps with a little bit less pressure. But again, we'll see. It's a difficult one there, but yeah, I think I've rambled on long enough anyway. So thank you so much for watching, guys. It's been my pleasure. Good to see Harry Kane's right up there for the golden boot as well, with Lukaku, and obviously Ronaldo's leading it. There's Costa, Lukaku, Sherzib, the guy from Russia, on 2, with Kane, and Ronaldo on 3. Yeah, so all to play for. It's been a really good World Cup so far. I've really enjoyed it. I can't work out why it's so hot in Russia, though. I always imagine Russia to just be cold all the time, but everyone's complaining about the heat. Why is it every World Cup we always complain about the heat? It's going to be, when we're in Qatar, it's going to be ridiculous. Like, England have got no chance of winning that one, by the way. I think Qatar will probably win it because they're the only ones who'll be able to stand the heat. But there we go. Anyway, thank you for watching. I'll catch you next time. Bye-bye.